Yeah, and I would say these days your sales cadence is going to look like 13 to 15 touch points, maybe longer if the average sale is a bigger number, right?
What is the importance of the website plays in that marketing strategy?
So I always think of the website as the legitimizer. It's not going to be your 24/7 salesperson that does all the selling for you. Somebody still needs to be doing part of the sales process. But your customer does not live and breathe your product or service 24/7. They haven't been looking at it for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. You have to remember this is their first time coming and looking at your company. So how do we explain it using words that they understand?
Exactly.
I always say, why do we make it hard for people to give us money? They're already there. They're already interested. They already want to give us money. We need to make it easier for them.
You mentioned AdWords is not for every business. Can you just elaborate that? Why is that? Most businesses today are overwhelmed by modern marketing. They are juggling technology, content, branding, and lead generation, yet still struggle to stand out and turn that effort into real sales. Angela Hill has spent more than 30 years helping businesses solve exactly that problem. A C-level marketing leader, national speaker, and former adjunct professor who has built and transformed brands for global names like Hallmark, Ford, Anheuser, Visa, Mars Candy, and William Sonoma. Today, as a fractional CMO and partner at Chief Outsiders, Angela helps companies create true blue ocean differentiation, choose the right technology, automate their marketing, and build strong performing marketing and sales engines. Angela, welcome to the Website Growth Show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Excellent. And I'm excited to learn how businesses can make their website their number one business growth tool. Before we get into the marketing strategy and the tips, can we start with your why? What is keeping you going as a marketer for 30 plus years?
Well, my personal why is my family, taking care of them is my true motivator. My professional why is that I'm very fascinated by the constantly evolving nature of marketing. When I first started, really, there was just a traditional marketing, old school marketing, like advertising and billboards and television and radio and print. And over time, it has evolved to include websites, SEO, AdWords, email marketing, social media, video, and now we have artificial intelligence in terms of GEO and optimizing for LLMs. And software has just radically changed every year, really, in terms of what's possible and also in terms of the kind of intelligence that we have regarding our customers and our prospects. And I find that fascinating.
Excellent. And how do you define modern marketing?
Modern marketing, really utilizing every tool that's available to you and specifically leveraging AI to do better marketing. It's not about pushing your information or your message for your customer out to everybody. It's really about dialing in to make sure that the right prospect or customer gets the right information regarding your product or service at the right time and clearly differentiates you from your competitors.
Wow, that's amazing. And what's the first step as a business you take to achieve this?
Well, when I work with my clients as a fractional CMO, I always start with a branding analysis and strategy to make sure we've fully defined the mission, vision, purpose of the organization. Do we have the brand personality, promise, positioning dialed in? Have we built out our customer archetypes? Have we taken a look at the competitive landscape? I like to do blue ocean competitive canvas mapping. From there, that gives us an activated SWOT analysis, and we can make good messaging, marketing, and design choices because we know who we are as a brand internally. Therefore, we can express it successfully externally.
Excellent. These are quite a few things you need to get it right to execute this marketing strategy. And when you do this marketing strategy sessions with your customers, how do you define the marketing success?
Well, for me, the definition of marketing success is profitable revenue. So I always start with what is our ideal target in terms of profitable revenue, broken out by the product or service lines and broken out by new versus existing customers. We look at where we were this past year, where we want to go next year, what percentage of that revenue needs to come from new customers versus retention from existing customers. Then we break that down in a reverse demand waterfall. And we say, if we look at the average sale per product and per service, and we break that into each of the product and service lines for revenue streams, we can look at the percentage conversion between deal stages, and we can accurately predict what marketing needs to do to ultimately achieve profitable revenue.
Excellent. What are the biggest challenges? Every business wants to do that. Every business wants to, uh, get the, positive ROI on their marketing spend. But most businesses, not most, many businesses have challenges when they're spending on marketing, they don't see the ROI. What are the common biggest challenges you see?
Well, first of all, you need to look at tracking the result of your marketing. So, for example, let's say you go to a trade show and you spent $10,000 on a booth and sponsorship, and then you got 100 badge scans. A lot of companies don't take it to the next level. They don't put that information into their sales CRM and their marketing automation. So what I do is I say, okay, let's build out a campaign that's a trade show campaign. And then let's upload a list that's trade show ABC list. And then let's put those contacts into a sales sequence for a nurture campaign. And let's have it be a combination of an email from the contact owner, so that could be the sales rep for that territory, a LinkedIn connection, a LinkedIn InMail, a phone call, a series of emails, links to assets like a case study or a white paper or, logos for proof points and legitimization or testimonials. I have 3 contacts that generated a deal opportunity of 50,000 each. So it's 150,000. Of that, one is closed won 50,000. So then I can look and I can say, if I spend 10,000, ultimately get 50,000 in closed won revenue, is that a good return on investment? And that's where the profitability comes in. I need to understand, what's my profit margin? What's my cost of customer acquisition? How much money am I willing to spend to get that 50,000 deal? If the answer is, I'm willing to spend 50% and I only spent 20%, then thumbs up. Let's do that trade show again.
Exactly.
Is I'm only willing to spend 10%, so I'm only willing to spend 5,000 to get 50,000, and I spent 10,000 on the trade show. The answer is, well, do I need to go to that trade show for brand awareness and keeping up with the Joneses for the industry? Or could I spend less, like on a smaller booth, or maybe I send a couple sales reps to walk the floor instead of having a booth, right? Or I do a paid speaking engagement instead of doing a trade show booth. How do I get my cost of customer acquisition to match the number it needed to be for the profitable revenue? I can't make those kinds of decisions unless I have the data and I'm tracking it along the way.
Quite a bit of information. First of all, the marketing spend, you should not expect immediate result on first contact of the customer. It's series of things you do after the marketing spend, which normally results in positive ROI. Is that
Yeah, and I would say these days your sales cadence is going to look like 13 to 15 touch points, maybe longer if the average sale is a bigger number, right?
exactly?
So, like let's say you're e-commerce and you sell something that costs $5. Well, the number of marketing touch points will be a lot less versus let's say you sell something that's and your sales cycle is 3 to 6 months, you're going to have a lot more touch points. But if you're using a sales CRM that's integrated with marketing automation, and I like to use HubSpot, for example, then I can track all of that activity and I can go back and I can have a formula. Oh, I had one trade show event. That's an in person conversation. I had 3 automated email sequences. I had 2 phone conversations, 1 Zoom meeting, and then we got to the proposal stage. Okay, well, that's my formula that I can expect every time we go to a trade show. This is how many touch points I need to have in order to get to a proposal or to get to closed one. But you're always working backwards from profitable revenue to determine what marketing needs to do to get to that end result.
Excellent. And also, you always needs to improve all these touch points to, make the conversion better as well. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a continuous
so
process.
first you have to do the benchmarking. Then once
Exactly.
you know what it is, then you improve what you're doing, right? So it took me 16 emails. How do I get it down to 8 emails? Oh, my deal velocity from time of identifying an opportunity to closed one is 6 months. How do I get down to 3 months, right? But if you can't measure it, you can't improve it.
Exactly. This is a lot of information. Is there any recent case studies you worked on? The business came to you with the problem, and you went to sort out these problems. Can do you have any case study to share?
I can tell you I worked with a compounding pharmacy, and one of the things that we identified was they were using HubSpot for their sales CRM and marketing automation. And we had a manual part of the process for onboarding physicians to the provider platform. And so, one kind of simple thing that we did, it wasn't super hard, was that we connected DocuSign to HubSpot. And what that did was it extended the marketing attribution and customer journey mapping that we had, because previously we could see, oh, we're spending money on Google Ads, or we're doing SEO, so we have leads coming in from organic search, or we have cold emailing and we have cold calling. And that's then funneling into this form on the website with the HubSpot form. But then there was a handoff to a person who was doing stuff. And so by connecting DocuSign to HubSpot, what it allowed us to do is to go one step further into the process of the leads that are being provided to the sales team. How many are making it to the next step of completing this contract signature process? And from there, we could optimize and figure out ways on the marketing side to automate some of the follow-up outreach from the pre-sales person to get the signature in DocuSign. And so in 1 year, the business went from 22 to 40 million in revenue.
Wow, a big jump. Just by automating the signature
Well, we did
process.
a lot of other things, but that is one thing that did have an impact because we were shortening the sales cycle. We were increasing deal velocity by enabling visibility into part of a manual process.
Example. And all these growth strategy which you work with businesses, what is the importance of the website plays in that marketing strategy?
So I always think of the website as the legitimizer. It's not going to be your 24/7 salesperson that does all the selling for you. Somebody still needs to be doing part of the sales process, but it can do a lot to build credibility and trust and peace of mind and give some transparency into who's the team or what's pricing or what industries are served or what is the capacity for solving problems for the product or service. I think the website can go a really long way towards providing brand awareness and brand education, but it's never going to be something that exists and works alone. It needs support, right? So I always say if your website is a party or content is like the food at the party, right? But SEO, AdWords, email marketing, they're the invitation to the party. So first off, you got to make sure you have a really great party with good food and drinks and music, right? You got to have a great party. So got to have good messaging. Need to have a good user experience. You need to make sure all your content is organized so you can navigate and find what you're looking for. You got to have good messaging that resonates with the people that are coming to the site. So make sure your party's great and then send out all the invitations to come to the party. But if you don't do the work on the party first, if you don't have a good website first, all of the money that you spend on marketing for SEO and AdWords and email and direct mail and trade shows and all that stuff, people are just going to leave, right? They're going to bounce. And so then you're going to have a high bounce rate and your website's not going to work for you. So that's the way I explain it to non-marketing people, because I think it's a concept that everybody understands and can get behind. Like, oh yeah, if I went to a party, there's no food, there's no drink, there's no music. Why am I at this party? I'm leaving, right? I didn't find what I was looking for.
Yeah. No, I love the example, and this is the first time I hear this party, example to explain the website. So, which is brilliant. So, you mentioned a few things, how this party can be an interesting party. So, can we go one by one? You mentioned the
Sure.
messaging is very important. So,
Hmm.
how the messaging can be aligned with the party, so the people who we invite to the website to the party understand what kind of party is it.
Yep. Right. So I used to teach branding at the university level. And what I told my students is you can't be everything to everybody, right? And so my example was if we looked at Avis and Hertz, at the time, Hertz was the number one car rental company. So Hertz is number one. So the customer that wants the number one gold level, best in class experience, they're going to Hertz. Now, Avis, they knew they weren't number one. So, with integrity and transparency, they said in their ad campaign, we're number two, but we try harder. So then, customer who says, well, best in class number one isn't important to me. Really good customer service is important to me. That's their audience. And so when you are clear about who your audience is and you have messaging that resonates with them and their priorities, and you're not trying to be everything to everybody, you will get better results. And that's why messaging is so important.
Of this example again. So basically, you don't need to be clever when it comes to messaging. The clarity, with clarity and empathy and authenticity, you say, is
Mhm.
very important when it comes to messaging. So the first ingredient of a good party on your website is messaging.
Yep.
Can we go touch a couple of more points to make this party very interesting?
Sure. So I would say the next piece is the user experience in terms of the navigation. So have you organized everything in a way that makes sense to your customer, not in a way that makes sense to you? So the biggest
Exactly.
mistake that I see with most companies is that you have a CEO or a business owner or a leadership team, and they put information out based on what makes sense to them. But your customer does not live and breathe your product or service 24/7. They haven't been looking at it for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. You have to remember this is their first time coming and looking at your company. So, how do we explain it using words that they understand? And how do we organize it using words that they care about? Because this is a for example. So, I I worked with a medical device manufacturer, and the challenge that we were running into was the engineering team, what they put into the ERP for product categories and subcategories were based on how they understood the product. And then the finance team needed the product categories and subcategories in a way that makes sense for their financials and their reporting. But the marketing and sales team needed product categories and subcategories in different words that are how the industry uses it. And
Exactly.
so we had to build a Rosetta Stone that was a spreadsheet that said, well, if engineering calls this product this category, here's how finance calls it, and here's how marketing and sales calls it. And this is what we label it in HubSpot so we get accurate reporting. And this is what we label it in WooCommerce so that the customer can find it. And that's where navigation is just so critical because if you communicate and you organize your information based on the way it makes sense to you, you might be alienating your customer because it's not in the way that makes sense to them. And that's why navigation and hierarchy of information and where you put one information and how you tag it and your search functionality on a website is so important affect the success of the brand.
Could not agree more. And this is a very important part of having a successful party. If people don't know, where the dinner, where the dance
Yeah,
floor, and
where's the food?
other
Where are
things.
the drinks? Where's the
Exactly,
bathroom? Where's the front door? How do I get in and out? How do I navigate my way?
exactly.
I always say, why do we make it hard for people to give us money? They're already there. They're already interested. They already want to give us money. We need to make it easier for them.
Excellent. And can we touch upon last third point on making this party interesting?
Sure. I think that comes down to imagery. It comes down to color. It comes down to typography. I'm a big fan of really looking at your customer archetypes and thinking through their psychology, right? So there's the psychology of color. What do different colors mean to different people? There's also the decision making process and how do they process information. Some people are going to be an emotional buyer, some people are going to be an analytical buyer. So, with an emotional buyer, maybe you want testimonials and you want logos and you want pictures that resonate and appeal to them. With an analytical buyer, maybe you want charts or graphs or call outs with statistics or a calculator or a technical spec sheet that's downloadable, right? You have to understand how your website visitor processes information and what is their psychological makeup in terms of how they see your brand and they interpret subconsciously the value that your brand provides because there's very easy rules, right? They're unspoken rules, but when you say them out loud, they're easy. So, for example, let's say I was creating a law firm that served the financial sector, and my target audience is a male CFO, 45 to 65 years old. Probably, not always, but probably not going to use hot pink, right? I'm probably not going to use baby blue or light yellow as my colors, right? There's just some unspoken rules of you're probably not going to use certain colors because it doesn't appeal to that person.
Fascinating. Design elements, of course, these are the first impression which can make or break your business as well. So very important. So thank you so much for making our party very interesting. So first is I would summarize it. First is messaging, clear messaging. You don't need to be clever. Just clearly say what you do, who you do it for, and what problem you solve. Secondly, don't make it hard people to navigate your website. Keep it very simple. It's good for user experience and that helps really for the search engine optimization as well. And lastly, design, colors, images, these are your first impression. So now we have a I know exciting party ready. How do we make the invites exciting and how do we invite people to the party?
So that comes down in terms of SEO, AdWords, email marketing, social media, video, etc. If we start with SEO, it's really doing the research, the keyword research to make sure we've picked the right terms and then building content around the terms that we want to rank for. Whenever I do keyword research, I like to break it down into three categories. So one is the category that I'm going to optimize existing website pages for, or yeah, and build more content around that. Two, what are the terms I'm going to create content pillar pages and do theme clusters to build out more blog content around that. And three, what are the terms I'm going to go after in terms of AdWords and then have that drive to landing pages.
Excellent. Is that your standard go-to process when you're looking to market a website? You
Yeah.
go both with SEO and paid marketing. Is this your favorite way of inviting people to the party?
Yes, but AdWords isn't always appropriate for everybody. So sometimes I will use AdWords just as a strategy to rank for the organic terms faster because Google will reward you if you spend money with them. And I want to be able to show through a low bounce rate Not only do I want to optimize for that particular keyword on my page, but because people went to the page and they stayed and they looked around, I'm legitimately providing content and value that matches the term that I'm trying to rank for.
So what I understood is even on paid marketing, you normally try to rank the helpful informational pages, not the landing pages. Is that what you're saying?
If I do that, if I'm using it as part of my organic search strategy, if I'm doing it for lead generation, then I'm going to send them to a landing page with a form with a downloadable asset or to an e-commerce product page.
Got it. You mentioned AdWords is not for every business.
Mhm.
Can you just elaborate that? Why is that?
Well, you have to go where your customers are. So there's always going to be groups of people that they don't buy from you by searching for you on Google, and they don't buy from you by clicking on an ad in Google, for example.
How do you know that for any business who are looking to spend ads, is there any way to find out that is that not the right strategy for me?
Well, you could always do a test campaign to see how it performs. Something small like do a test campaign for 1 month, set it at $500. If you are a business that works with other businesses, make sure it's during business hours, Monday through Friday. So do your day parting, your time parting. Only serve the ad in the places where your customers are right now, because then you'll have a better result. So for example, if all your customers are in Dallas, Texas, don't serve ads to all of the United States, only serve it in Dallas, Texas, and then analyze the results. Okay, I got a bazillion ad impressions. I don't care about that. I got 100 clicks. I actually don't care about that either. I got 5 form conversions. Okay, that's what I care about. So I always measure an ad campaign based on the conversion. So a conversion could be a form submission, it could be a phone call, it could be someone making a purchase on WooCommerce. And then from there, what is the value of that, right? So then that takes it all the way through. I got 5 form submissions, 2 of them went through all the deal stages, one of them got to closed one. My closed one value was 10,000 bucks. I spent $500 to get 10,000 bucks. Do I want to do it again? Yes or no? That comes back to the profitability of your
So when it comes to SEO, which is probably your favorite way to invite people, is that correct?
well, it just depends. Depends on the customer.
How do you decide whether SEO it is will it be a based on testing or is there a standard for
And
industry
definitely
testing?
always do testing. So I'm always going to do SEO, little AdWords, email marketing, social media, consistent blogging. Then, if I can add on, maybe it's trade shows, speaking engagements, podcast interviews, creating video content. Then, if I can add on to that, maybe it's cold calling, cold emailing, cold LinkedIn outreach. So, there's a variety of tactics that I can take to drive traffic to the website. It just depends on the size of the organization and the marketing budget and the size of the marketing team and what level of complexity they can handle.
When it comes to SEO, it's getting challenging with AI overviews to getting, clicks and visitors to the site. How are you finding?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a moving target because Google's always changing their algorithm. I like to look at SEO from a traditional SEO versus AEO versus LLMO perspective, and how do I create content to serve each of those search engines?
Excellent, amazing. You've been in marketing for, 30 plus years. So can you summarize when you started, what was the marketing look like and today, how people do marketing? How different is it today?
It's radically different. I mean, when I first started, everything was print. So you would have a brochure, you'd have a catalog, you'd have an annual report, you would do direct mail, like everything was going on paper, right? You'd have newspaper ads and bus backs and transit ads and billboards and radio and TV. And if you had a television commercial, it went to everybody on that particular station on that particular time. We really didn't have segmentation and personalization, and we didn't have an online presence. Like when I started, people did not have websites. Like a person didn't have a website and a company didn't have a website.
That's a long way back.
Yeah. And now everything is digital, right? Everything is
Yeah.
online. I don't hardly anybody will do a printed brochure or a printed catalog, you know. Really the only people that are doing direct mail campaign, it's either political advertisements or it's home services, but there's not a lot of other industries that are doing a ton of direct mail. And I feel like it's a pendulum, right? Like it swings really away from print, like, there were many years where everyone said, "Oh, print is dead. Print is dead. No one's gonna do print anymore. It's all online," right? And then everyone did email marketing, and then you were getting spammed all the time in terms of your email and your text messages. Well, now we're going back to the pendulum swing of, well, maybe we should do some print and direct mail because how else are we gonna stand out if somebody's getting 500 emails a day and they're just selecting all of them and putting them in junk, or your email software systems automatically putting them in a separate folder so you don't have to look at them. Like, how do you stand out from the noise? And I think that's where personalization, like connected TV, and the ability to upload a demographic or psychographic audience and serve a TV ad via streaming to only those people, like that was inconceivable back in the day.
Yeah. And now, or maybe write handwritten notes to, to your customers now to stand out.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, there's so much that's possible. So when that is the case, that's where doing the analysis of really understanding your customer and who they are, where they are and their pain points is so important so that you don't waste money once you get to the tactical side of marketing and advertising.
Excellent. So now going back to our website party, we have the, nice party setup. We have the invites. Now people are coming to the party. So the party will automatically be successful, or we still need to do a few things to make it a success.
Well, I like using Crazy Egg or Hotjar to look at the website engagement. So a lot of people will look at Google Analytics and they'll say, oh, I had 1,000 people come to my website and, the average number of pages that they're looking at is 5. Okay, great. My website's doing well. But if you don't also look at something like Crazy Egg or Hotjar, you're missing the heat mapping, the scroll mapping, the rage clicks. So you have no idea that someone is clicking on that image or clicking on that header, expecting it to be a link, and it's not working. Or you have a button that's supposed to be a button that's working, but it's not working because Google Analytics is only showing you the behavior of what is working. They went to the website, they came in this page, they left that page, they came from these places, they spent this much time on the website, and then they bounced. But if you don't use another tool to say, gosh, everybody's leaving this one product or service page. What's going on there that's making them leave? How do I analyze my user behavior to see I embedded a video, but the video link isn't working? Or I have a button and my button was working when I launched the website, but doesn't work anymore. Or I have an image and everybody expects to be able to click that image. Scroll mapping. My page is too long and I need to make it shorter or condense it or maybe break it into 2 pages because people aren't scrolling down, so they're not seeing all the information. You have to use additional tools to improve the user experience. And then the other thing that I like to look at is I like to every, I don't know, few months or so run a technical SEO audit. So, you're going to set up your Google Search Console and it's going to tell you, okay, these are how many pages that were indexed from your sitemap. But they may not be indexing all of the pages that you want them to index, right? Or there may be a file on, like, let's say your homepage and it's the hero image and it's in some kind of carousel and it's taking too long to load because your JavaScript needs to be minified, right? There's so much stuff that you can do to improve the page speed and the user experience, but you have to do a technical audit of your website to be able to pull this is what's working, this is what's not working, and then give it back to the web developers to say, well, here's my list of things that need to get fixed because it was fine last month, but it's not fine this month. Because it's a living, breathing organism that's constantly changing. And so I like to use a tool called Sitebulb, Sitebulb, to run a technical audit. And then it generates like a 90-page report and it gives me like green, yellow, orange, red. And then I can share it with the web developer and say, okay, at a minimum, we need to fix the red items because these are degrading the experience for my website visitor.
Got it. There's a lot of work you need to be done to run a successful party. So that's what we understand. And everything is not just inviting people. There are so many things you need to manage for a successful party. How important is it to collect emails from these people you invited so you can invite them for a future parties as well once again?
Think it's super important. You can, but you could also do retargeting with a Google ad campaign. And then now there's really cool tools with like Zoom info and other tools like that where you can, or HubSpot, you can see what companies have come to your site. Then you can identify the ideal job titles. You can push those contacts into your sales CRM and then enroll them in a sales sequence for nurturing. It's not a cold lead, but it's not a warm lead. So it's a not as cold lead that they can then reach out and say, hey, I'm not sure if the timing is right for our product or service, but we work with companies like you all the time and we solve these types of problems. Would it be worth a conversation? And you would be surprised just how much revenue you can generate doing that.
Exactly. And what are the common one or two biggest mistakes businesses do to ruin this website party?
It's either too much or too little. So, some businesses try and cram every possible piece of information into the website and they make it very difficult for the user to find what they're looking for and they don't answer their questions. And some businesses put too little information because they're treating it like a brochure. And in order to rank for terms, you need to have more content. And Google's going to penalize you if you don't have enough. Um, it's like your text to page ratio, right?
Got it. If you have a big billboard on the busiest highway, what would you say to the on that billboard when it comes to growing your business through a website?
Know your customer. Not everyone is your ideal customer. So don't try and be everything to everybody.
I could not agree more. So this is hugely important. Know your customer, know their pain points, and this all starts from knowing your customers. Amazing. Businesses who are watching or listening to us today, what is the one action step they can take out of this conversation, which they can implement right away on their websites to get some results?
Well, there's a tool I really like to use. It's called PathMonk, and it's an overlay. It's pretty easy. And what it does is it guides the user experience. And for the companies I have implemented it with, one of them we increased website conversions by 50%, and the other
Wow.
one we increased website conversions by 70%.
So you want people to check this out and improve their conversions and print money from their websites.
You already have a money making machine. Make it work better.
Exactly. On our today's topic, how businesses can turn their websites their number one business growth tool. Is there any question which I should have asked you, which I haven't?
No, I think this was a pretty good conversation. I would say we talked about a lot of stuff that can sound really overwhelming.
Exactly.
So if you are doing your own marketing, pick the one spot where you think you'll have the biggest impact. You don't have to do everything, but don't spend time doing marketing where your customers are not.
Brilliant advice. And, you must work on your strengths, whatever your strengths are. You just, double down on your strengths. Angela, how you help businesses, grow through marketing or through website marketing and how people can connect you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn and I work as a fractional CMO. So I work with small and mid sized businesses to help them grow, but I do it in a way that works best for them. So it's a very customized approach.
Excellent. Angela, thank you so much for your generous responses and brilliant advice for all my questions. So I hope this conversation will be helpful for businesses and help them grow their businesses. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
But that's it for this episode of the Website Growth Show. If you find it helpful, please consider subscribing. Until next time, keep growing.